It's time for the one and the only show. It's the Luke Howard Show, and guess what? It's recorded, so please welcome Luke Howard. Thank you very much. Thank you. Oh, thank you. Such a lovely audience, as my mate Mary would say. Lovely, good friend of mine she is, she's a close friend. Morning, everybody. Hope you're all well. Morning to Mary, by the way, if she's listening. It is Monday the 29th of June, a brand new week, of course. So, of course, Monday means a brand new start to a brand new week, of course. To the one and the only show, the Luke Howard Show. We've got lots to talk about on the show today. Hope you all had a lovely weekend, of course, as much as I did. On the show today, we've got loads to talk about. We're talking news, we're playing music, we're talking about other things, we're going to be talking about stories, playing music, and hopefully sometime this week we shall also be interviewing the one and the only, that is, of course, Piers Bloomfield. So, you better strap yourselves in, because it's going to be a great show, and prepare for a long journey of the one and the only show, the Luke Howard Show. So let's talk about then a breaking piece of news that broke over the weekend, and it's what it's like to. We're talking about number of virus infections, and it's topped 10 million worldwide. Now, there's a video here that I would like to try and show on the show today, and if I can play it, I hope it will. If it doesn't, we won't do that. So, flying is a very different experience for the age of coronavirus. Now, the BBC's Tom Burridge got on board a flight from London's Gatwick to Inverness yesterday, Sunday. Now, most EU members have approved in total list of safe non-EU countries whose citizens will be allowed to travel to the EU screening area as of this Wednesday, the 1st of July. Now, BBC Europe correspondent Kate Arity is going to report on this now. Now, she said that the US is not on the list, and Australia and Canada are. Now, China would be, though, if it was in turn, and would allow EU travellers across to China, and the UK would be dealt with separately. Now, access to the EU has been given based on the non-EU countries' stated infection rate. And now, alongside their ability to show effective contact tracing programmes, provide legally health data, and the issue of reciprocity, but countries are on the safe list to do not need to meet all of their criteria, and it's just some of it. Now, and the list remains endorously only. Now, this is because in times of crisis, border control is the decision of each individual government. This is rather than the EU, but Germany, who takes up the EU presidency on the 1st of July, which is this Wednesday, believes the EU, that's my mother's birthday, the 1st of July, will give a big mention on the show on Wednesday. But this also believes that the EU, though, going back to this story, by the way, about this date, and the EU needs to be seen to act together over the pandemic. Now, individual EU members will not be cancelled to admit that the nation's on I would believe, an agreed list, but they will be extended to deny access to countries who do not make it into the list. Now, the list will be published ahead of July the 1st deadline, and regularly updated thereafter. It's going to be, though, a rigorously fudged EU compressive rights, and this is Alder. He wrote on his Twitter feed that. Now, Iran, the country worst hit by coronavirus in the Middle East, is making the wearing of masks mandatory from next weekend. Now, speaking on the state television, President Hassan Rouhani said they would be regularly in COVID areas where they were gatherings, but did not say that what the penalty would be for failure to comply. Now, according to the Deputy Health Minister, services will not be provided to those without masks in areas such as, I would say government organisations, and of course shopping centres. Now, President Rouhani also said that the local authorities could take steps to reimpose restrictions in high-risk regions. Now, Iran has recorded at least 223,669 infections, and this is 10,508 deaths from COVID-19. Now, I've got a latest coming in now from Asia, And if you're not just, joining us in Asia, though, of course, have we got Asia viewers, of course? I'm sure we have. But I've also got the latest across the continent. Now, China has imposed a strict, and when I mean a strict lockdown. This is near Beijing, to an effort to contain a fresh outbreak. Nearly 500,000 people will be barred from travelling in and out of the Angxin country. Now, South Korea confirmed that dozens more cases over the past 24 hours as it struggles to contain. Now, this is a string of new clusters, and there has been a spike in causes since the country relaxed social distancing rules. This was last month. Now, meanwhile, over in Japan and Tokyo, they reported 60 new infections on Sunday. That's its highest daily total since it lifted a state of emergency last month. Now, in India, Delhi is now the country's worst hit area with about 73,000 recorded cases. And, of course, it's all in numbers, and correspondents have said a lot of stuff about that. Now, Shadow Businesses Security Ed Miliband said that he fears Thatcher levels of unemployment without further government aid on firms which cannot open. Now, the new House of Commons Library analyses that comments by the Labour Party suggest that unemployment levels could soar above 3.3 million levels, and they were not seen since the 1980s under their Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher. Now, Miliband accused the current government of pulling in the rug from under many parts of the economy. They were telling businesses that they will have to start paying towards the furlough scheme from August before it closes entirely in October. But you've got to have a bridge, though, haven't you, between the end of the furlough and the proper job creation programme. He told the Andrew Marr programme, that's what he said to them yesterday on the Andrew Marr show. He said you've got to have a bridge, of course, between the end of the furlough, and he also said that for the former Labour leader also questioned why the government would not be announcing a new budget this summer and called on ministers to bring forward investment in the green economy. Now, Prime Minister Boris Johnson has begun to outline his plans for an economic recovery. Now, the UK is on a knife edge and facing an ability crucial a few months on tackling the virus. A government scientific advisor has warned that Wellcome Trust Director Sir Jeremy Farmer, who is part of a scientific advisory group for emergencies, has said in the UK and particularly England face a very precious situation, and he would anticipate a rise in cases. He warned that people are to still be really cautious, particularly around any events, and of course indoors ahead of the scheduled reopening of pubs and restaurants in England next weekend. Now, I walked past the pub the other day. Funny enough, I walked past the pub the other day, and they were getting it all ready. They were stripping, a lot of things down, and they were getting all prepared, and they were getting ready. And my boss, everyone knows I work in Buntingford's famous cheese shop, the Cheese Plate. Now, he loves his pubs, and he hasn't even got a phone, so he won't be able to use the app. He can't go in there. My mother, she loves her pubs. She can't go in there either because she hasn't got a clue how to use an app or anything like that. So, I mean, people who haven't got the app to order a drink off your phone, they cannot go into a pub then, because if you haven't got an app, you can't go into a pub. I also walked past a hair salon the other day, and they stuck all signs up in saying all the rules about what you have to do and what you can't do. So, and I walked past the other day and I saw what was going on in there. They were all in there, and they were all getting impaired, and there were all posters as well on their doors telling you what they're going to do, as I just said. And and that was what I did the other day, and I walked past there, and it was very confusing. But I think everyone would get used to it all. I would think. Maybe, it was. What I think is, it may not start off well, but once we've all got used to the way life's going to be over the next couple of months, I would believe, and then that's when we would all get used to it, I would believe, and and that was just what I wanted to say about that. I wanted just to get my little word in as well about that one. So he warned people to still be really cautious, particularly around any events, and he said that the virus has not disappeared and that the next 3 months, as I just said, were absolutely crucial. He said that having a new number of cases going into winter would mean you're in a good position, allowing for local lockdowns, which could help prevent the national catastrophe that happened in March and April this year. Now, Scotland could eliminate coronavirus by the end of the summer if the decline in new cases continues. One public health expert has believed that he'd had no confirmed deaths from the virus over the weekend, so of course Saturday, Sunday and Friday. Now, Professor D.V. Cerruti of Edinburgh University said the country would officially be COVID-free if that progress could be maintained. She said the challenge would then be how to stop new cases being imported. And UK Home Secretary has been talking today, actually, about how a local lockdown could be imposed in the Midlands city of Leicester following a spike in coronavirus crisis. There is still uncertainty over how such a move intended to halt the further spread of the COVID-19. Now, UK Home Secretary Priti Patel has called on people not to attend street parties, protests or mass celebrations because, of course, I saw a video, the other night. I saw a video, and it was from the Liverpool game, and all they were doing was partying, shouting, screaming, and I don't actually think that they shouldn't be doing that, to be honest with you, because of course they shouldn't be doing it because of all this going on. They shouldn't be out there partying and enjoying themselves just because they won a game at the moment because of all this. They shouldn't be doing it at all, to be honest, and they shouldn't. They just shouldn't be doing it because of course of all this. So she added that Ferguson's and violent behaviour is simply unacceptable, there you go, and that more resources would be made available to the police if needed. Now, larger numbers also gathered at, this is Anfield last week, to celebrate Liverpool Football Club. Now, wherever I go, I do see a lot of people not social distancing. As I said on the show the other day, I see kids not social distancing. I see teenagers not social distancing. I even see adults not social distancing either. But a lot of people around our area do show some respect, and they do the social distancing around here. Some people forget. Some people even forget. I mean, some people even forget about it. But to celebrate Liverpool Football Club winning the Premier League, however, Patel and football fans did not need to travel to the stadium to celebrate. Now, she also encouraged people to follow the rules and guidelines, of course, when pubs and restaurants begin to reopen next weekend. Now, I am not going to be going to a pub and restaurant at the moment because I haven't got a clue how to use the Drink app. I haven't got a clue how to use it at all. My phone's a different type of phone, and I just about know how to use a computer and a iPad. I am very clever with using this sort of stuff, but I wouldn't know how to use apps and stuff. And we must, in our town, we must have about 5 to 6 pubs in our town, of course, and that does include the wonderful Clubhouse Social Club as well. Now, we don't have a vaccine, they said, so it is incumbent on all of us to make sure we keep our distance and we enjoy ourselves in a responsible way. And of course, summer is back on. Woo! Summer's back on, apparently, so that's good. Now, of other people around us, and she said that, the Duchess of Cambridge has visited a children's hospice to highlight the importance of the work that it has been doing during the coronavirus pandemic. Now, Catherine spoke to staff at the Nook near Norwich, as well as people who use its facilities. Now, more than 10 million coronavirus cases have been declared worldwide. Johns Hopkins University has said that meanwhile, in a number of virus-related deaths, it is at 499,124 and is likely to rise above 500,000 in the coming hours. Now, life has changed, of course. Life has changed for everyone. You go there and you think, oh, that place is shut, I can't go in there. You see, life has changed. Of course it has. Lockdown. But in Gateshead in Tyne Wear, I know Gateshead very well, a wildlife worker has survived on a diet of nettles. Wow! Hawthorn leaves and goes foraged on daily walks to raise money for charity. Now, just sort of the way I would live. Now, Kirsty Pollard has been creating daily recipes with foraged food to raise money for Conversation Charity, the Durham Wildlife Trust. Now, this has struggled during the pandemic. The online appeal has urged donors, though, to end her husband Sam's diet of nettles and gutweed by giving money, which is amazing. She's making curries, cocktails, and even ice cream with wild food. Now, that is a really lovely thing to do, and I might even go off later on today and start doing that, because that does sound really cool. Now, it does sound cool, it sounds really good. Now, a localised lockdown could be imposed in Leicester following a spike in, of course, the cases. Now, Okay, this is in Leicester. Now, about 25% of the Midlands city's 2,494 confirmed COVID-19 cases were reported in 2 weeks before the 16th of June. Now, they asked about a newspaper report that the Midlands city they faced a return, of more restrictions, and they told the Andrew Marr programme that it is correct. There will be support, though, going into Leicester, and in fact, the Health Secretary was in touch with many of the ministers over the weekend just gone, explaining some